Hi, welcome to another edition of Tarot for Our Times. Today it's brought to you by the King of Cups in reverse. This is the card that I refer to as the Mad King George III card of the tarot. And that this applies to our friend the Muskrat. And there's been a lot of talk about him, and I don't think I'm going to rehash a lot of this stuff except for the question of his use of ketamine, and if it's, and boy, is this for entertainment purposes only. And the question is he's admitted to using it, but is he abusing it? So the actually being very careful, what I'm going to do is in the reading is to see if his behavior indicates it's very, very likely that he is, which means that's very problematic for us. So I really am not familiar what it is until I looked it up. So it's been used as an anesthesia and for depression. Now, the thing is that one can build a dependency to it, but it's not an opioid, and it's also used for pain. Now, in the world of recreation, the world I've been out of for decades now, it's also known as Special K and, on the street, and it's a hallucinogen. And the thing is that people get disassociated. It's very interesting, which tells me they kind of go out of their body. And that really would indicate to me that's perfect for someone with incredibly low self-esteem. But in the party scene, it's been mixed with other drugs like cocaine, MDA, and all that sort of thing. What it can do to you, and this because this could come up in the reading, is that it affects the heart, and which changes in its beat. You get chest pain, dizzy, faint, lightheaded, and it does a number on the liver. Um, and in the mental state, you actually what it does is that you just lose touch with reality, and that's what people use drugs for, is to you know to escape. So as it applies to the muskrat, he had admitted in an interview when Don Lemon was still with CNN that he only used it in small doses and was prescribed it. Oh boy, how many times have I heard that with people over the years? That to me, that's those are the two big denial red flags. But so I want to see here if his behavior, and I did comment before I knew what it was when Libby of Meister Tarot did a reading, just a general reading, and I said that it seemed to act like speed and like an amphetamine. And I'm not. So I think that when a drug is a hallucinogen, it can do that, and whatever lovely stuff people were supposed to feel about that, it does diminish. So then, of course, more is needed. And in most countries, including the US, it is a scheduled drug. So you not only need a prescription, but there's a lot of scrutiny that goes before somebody is prescribed that. So I want to take, because this will really affect us. And the King of Cups, this is the King of Cups upright. That was my and other readers' cards for Biden. But when it's in reverse, and I do love reading in reverse, I call that the Mad King George card, because, as I've said, the reversal of cups indicates mental illness and or substance abuse. And and this is, and he is in the position of the king since he runs a lot of things and he's so rich and this and that, and a lot of people think he's just the king. And if he, well, we're already in a triple tower. This is a triple tower. He is a triple tower thing. So we've got not a one tower, but we have a two and a three tower that which is bad enough already. If in fact he is abusing this drug for entertainment purposes only, that really means that we're in a lot of trouble, because no matter what, whether it's opioids or speed or whatever, um, it really does impact people around them. And when someone's running something, it's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, he's a recipe for disaster, but it only makes it work. But there's some further. We're going to see what the cards come up with. So I want to do a reading about if, according to his behavior, how likely is it that he is abusing? And I'm going to say that when we get more into the future, what will some of the consequences be? So I'm going to be using, as I love to do, I'm going to be using several decks because this is important. Okay, so with the Gilded Tarot, oh boy, okay. We have the Five of Wands upright, and this is infighting. Um, this can also be a battle. This can also be a battle and a conflict with oneself. I'm going to say that in his background, he's led a rather combative life, and I'm going to say that he may feel that he's always had to fight to be on top, business wise and socially. And part of this battle is if someone has low self esteem, as soon as they take a drink or a drug, it really kind of gives them a false sense of confidence. And I get a sense that this is something that drug does. So, and it's also about, he made something that he said his stockholders or employees kind of like it if he's taken his dose. And I don't know exactly what that means, but we're going to see what is the energy crossing this. And this is the Nine of Staffs, as they call it in this deck, reversed. And that means that he's never been able to see the forest for the trees. He very lost person. I see this, it means something different in different decks, but I see this lost person in the woods, a lost, lonely soul. So let's see, beneath all of this here, and it's interesting because this is the element of fire. And sometimes I think that when people are low energy or, not very creative, and he isn't because he's dependent on everybody else to do it for him, you need something artificial to set the fire. Okay, so underneath it all is the Ten of Pentacles in reverse, which is the corrupt family. I think he came from they say his grandfather was a Nazi and had to leave Canada. So I'm going to say he got the values of winning and getting ahead at any cost. And it's not necessarily through hard work. If you can get others to do it for you, so much the better. This is really interesting. This is about insomnia and worrying. And I'm going to say this is from a very insecure person. And insecure people do depend on substances to to maybe to go to sleep, to go, because it is an anesthesia. So it's possible that there could be, and this is a this, and I could believe that he probably has clinical depression, which he has admitted to, is that it is sleepless, and this drug could be helping him get some sleep. Very interesting. Okay. Ace of Wands in reverse. It's been very frustrating that he's never actually had an original thought in his entire life. So people like that usually they depend on other people and outside stimulation to give the illusion that, and it's like all of that false energy. So let's take a trip down memory lane here and see what there was in the past that could make someone like, oh, here we go. The Page of Swords in reverse, which is telling me, it's interesting because for yesterday's, that was the spy in the camp. So what that tells me is that maybe he's relied on that. It really goes to having the underlings come forward, which is interesting in this context, coming through with the ideas that he can take, that the underlings are the ones with the ideas, and that he had taken credit for it. Apparently, he learned that at a very early age. And let me see what we have here. We have the Lovers in reverse, which is telling me he's not really liked. He's never had a real connection with people. I sense that all those wives that he's had have pretty much been attracted to his money and the family. And they've probably told themselves, probably he's probably picked some very dysfunctional people who told themselves it was really love, but it was the money. So he's never had any real connection with people. So that is, boy, this is really a big recipe for crazy substance abuse. And the interesting, the Four of Swords here, that in the past, that pretty much tells me that with all that fake energy that he's got going, that he does kind of crash and burn, and which could indicate bipolar, but I'm not picking that up too much. But that there's some time that needs for that. It also tells me that prone to illnesses and exhaustion, and what this tells me is that in order to get going, he needs something to help. People like this need something to get going. So I'm just pointing out the characteristics that he has that could make it possible for him to be going to stimulants. So we're going to take a look at the conscious. The conscious thing is that whole thing that he is so exuberant, energetic, and has this joy supposedly in what he does. But he's not a real happy camper. So, in order to get that feeling of elation with people like that, often do need a stimulant. Plus, they get out of themselves because that's not really who he is. But he can disassociate from himself and be this incredibly energetic person. So, in the subconscious world, we have the delusion of going back to the past that never, in fact, really existed. So, I'm going to say that that's why he and Felon 45 probably hit it off, because they both have this whole thing in common of the idealized white society, happy families that neither of them had. but that's the stuff they've been feeding people who have been pretty much eating it up. So that's what his kind of spurned them on to be, or inspired them both to create this false world. So I want to see. So where is he at right now with all of this? The Ace of Wands, incredibly energetic sort of thing. All of this energy that I don't think is really his. I think this is where people use with especially with uppers and hallucinogenics, is to get that false sense of energy that they think inspires others, but in fact it turns out to be very awful sort of thing. So let's see, we also have, the High Priestess in reverse. So that means like all of his deep, dark secrets get to be covered up by, he doesn't have to look at them. And if he's starting to feel down to look at them, then maybe something of on the outside would be helpful in him kind of maintaining this image so that he doesn't have to really deal with what's going on here. And the High Priestess in reverse is saying, that's a very scary place to go. So here we go here. So in the hopes and fears, we have, the Ace of Cups, which is now in reverse. And I'm going to say that this may be what I think the thing is, that he's hopeful in keeping up this image that he has, but he fears that people may see the opposite, which is a very dark thing. But they're seeing it anyway. So that's the hope and the fear of the illusion. So what is coming up here? I would have to say that when I read those about what that drug can do if it's abused, and I'm wondering if the FDA may want to take another look at that. But at any rate, let's see. So coming up in the future, what could happen? I'm going to say, when I saw all of that, I thought, if he is abusing that, we may not have to worry about him for an awful lot of years. So then we have the Queen of Wands in reverse, which is telling me that the Queen of Wands in reverse is a very ill-tempered person. I'm going to say that his nastiness could be coming from a feminine energy, which is a bit different. And that, these, as I've said before, these kings and queens, all the people cards with the rods, are known for infidelity. So this represents it. And not only the infidelity in his relationships, I'm going to say the infidelity in the people who are around him, and possibly could be that there could be a betrayal of his co-president in the White House now, that he could turn on him. He could turn on him like a fickle woman. But that's true vice versa. And so, but that is also the whole thing, is that when people are abusing substances, they can just throw people under the bus for no apparent reason at all. So I'm going to say this may be something to watch out for. He could turn on those, especially if, like I said in yesterday's reading, with the spy in the camp of the Page of Swords in reverse, is that he could be suspecting that and be getting really, really, really paranoid, where he's wondering if everybody is against him. And that's what drugs can do when they're taken to excess. So then we have death in reverse, which is saying that there may be a close call with his health. It can sometimes this can be a near death experience, which he could have. But some people, they think, oh, you become this enlightened person. Not always. Some people, they don't learn anything from it and may end up fearing death even more. So let's see, to as we go further in the future, we have the Two of Wands in reverse, which is telling me there really isn't a future. He's running out of countries. That there's I don't even see the ship in the harbor. Usually you see the ship, and that the ship is so far out of the harbor. What this tells me, it's like the famous addiction geographic, is that he may lose his attention span with ruining this country and may be looking way, way far away, but he's running out of countries. He's really running out of countries. So I feel like I have to keep pulling this. Okay. And losing power. The Emperor in reverse is that all of the nastiness and dictatorial stuff, people are going to see him very weak. I call this the King's New Clothes from Hans Christian Andersen card, is that people are seeing that the emperor, has no clothes. And this has come up before with him and his soulmate. We got that. Let's see. And then we have the moon, which is telling me that if in fact there is an issue with drugs, this could be very well be coming to the surface. There's someone who knows something, and I pity the poor doctor if he has been over prescribing, because I'll do that for rich people. That he may get pulled into this, but this is really this is really about the demons that could be coming out. So I want to pull some cards in conclusion to all of the. Oh boy, here we go. This card is about addiction. And it's also, I want to expand that like I did the other day. It's addiction to substances. It's also the addiction to it's funny because I think he and Fotis are in one of those, really, if they were lovers, it would be one of those codependent abusive relationships. But professionally and friendship wise, it's kind of like they're both chained to each other. They don't know how to let go of this. So it's a very sick and toxic thing. But what this tells me is that both of them each owe each other favors, and they both know some stuff about each other that could be harmful. And also that if somebody is abusing something, that they can't be trusted. So this is telling me that it's highly likely that he is. I can't actually say, oh, for sure he is, but I'm saying all of these things with this card in conclusion really tells me that there is something going on here. I want to see that, since we have the possibility of that, I want to do a quickie on seeing what the consequences of this could be. He's certainly acting like in a very addictive person kind of way. And sometimes people that don't use drugs act like that, but and they're just dysfunctional. They've probably been around it, so it's usually like the codependent. But I'm going to say that that it's highly possible he does have a problem. So I just want to do a quickie on what could be the consequences of all of this. So let me find this. Oh, here we go. Find this deck. Ooh. And the whole problem is that this means that people like that, they always do such harm to people. And that's the worrisome thing, because they just don't care about, they're very self-absorbed and really don't care about anybody else. And this also tells me that he's never gotten along with anybody in his life. I mean, really. So let's put these back together. And I just want to see if this is true, or if he continues with this behavior or usage for entertainment purposes only. What could the consequences of all of this could be? I'm going to say that if this is true, I don't think he's going to be around for a full life expectancy. When I read what it did to the heart and liver, oh my God, this is very dangerous. That's why if anybody takes it because it's working for their depression or their pain, then you really have to be very, very careful and not take one pill more than the doctor. It also comes in liquid form. That's what, and I suspect that maybe some guys slip it into drinks in bars and parties. I mean, it comes in, and people are shooting it up too. So we don't know what if he's abusing it. What happens when people want to get the high quicker, they go from pills to snorting, and then they go to shooting it up. So at any rate, hopefully I've showed these before I lay these out. Okay, so if this is true, what are the consequences going to be? So let's see. Okay, so we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. That's telling me he could lose everything. I mean, this has been known to happen. You can be the richest person in the world, and this Queen of Pentacles in reverse is saying he could lose everything. I mean, the Tesla, the stocks and sales are going down. Anything that has his name attached to it. I mean, probably if he's lost millions over the past few days, we could, a whole city of us could live very comfortably on what he has left. But there is that risk, and that there is that fear. That's a big fear with these people. So let's see. We have this crossed with the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, which is saying that the harvest, what was planted, does not harvest very well. And to me, this is telling me, whoa, more pentacles in reverse. There's definitely a pattern here. What this tells me is that materially, that the material stuff is a lot of times is the first thing to go. This is also, they also represent health. So that's something that could be definitely impacted. Money and health, those are the first things. And let's see, opposing this, we have, the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups in reverse, which is telling me that he really has the emotional level of a teenager. And if he has been doing this goes back quite a number of years. I don't know how long that ketamine has been around, but if not, that's something else. So let's see what has happened in the past with him. Okay. The Four of Cups. this tells me that this is about the happiness that there is. And it's looking at him from the face. If you look at the face real closely, it doesn't seem to be. This is a very joyous thing. He could care less. It's about filling that void of the joy that you can't get from sitting in a beautiful countryside on a summer day. And it needs to be filled with stuff like money and women and drugs. And alcohol, drugs can is what people will use to try to fill the empty. So there's an emptiness that he has always had. This, and then oh, here we go. And always spending time deep down inside regretting the past and not being able to move on. And this brings us to that's the minor arcana of the one of the cards of the energy of the year with judgment and justice in reverse is here we go. He's fitting right into the energy of the year is the sadness, the depth of regret and not being able to get out of that. So that's pretty much low self-esteem, which is the driving energy of these characters that are in power, which is it's a very scary thing. So then coming up to the now with this, oh boy, I cannot believe this. We've got justice in reverse, which is that's another one of that's a major arcana of the year, and it it does go to felonious 45 is are these ever going to be able to be touched by, so that goes for him. It does come eventually, but when we see justice in reverse, which is really kind of like the karma poetic justice card, we think it's never going to come, but it's out there in the ethers right now. He needs to be arrested for what he's doing. I mean, this is getting into those records and having those boys and all of that. But it doesn't seem because of money and power, it's going to be justice delayed. But I have to do a little clarifier on this to see if what could be out there that's going to change this, because this can't go on forever. Okay. Okay, the burden of all of this crap he's done over the year, it's too much. He cannot go on any longer doing the things that he does. So eventually it's all going to break at some point. Right over here, it's going to break. And I think it might happen when I think it's like, oh, I can do everything. Then we'll see that he can't. So that's where the karma begins. Then he's left vulnerable to having Lady Justice catch up with him. So then we have here the Knight of Wands. So that's right now, this is his very immature. I can just do anything I want to do. That's what drugs like that do. You feel invincible. So he's riding out of the fire of that volcano, which he probably started, and on to the next disaster. I'm going to say this is how he's lived his life, and that's pretty hard to do. Going from one to another is very hard to do on your own steam. But I'm going to say being next to this is going to say there is a burnout coming. Unfortunately, we never really know when that's going to happen for sure. And then when that happens, he's no longer going to be able to move forward. It's going to be coming to a grinding halt. And where this is falling in the time thing of this, it may not be that far away, because it's going to depend on if he's been doing this, how long has he been doing this, And because I would say what he said, that does raise the red flag of denial. The prescription, and I only do a little bit. Okay. Um, so I'm going to say that there's going to be a decision that needs to be made, except for a few like Jasmine, AOC, and I'm going to say Omar, Ilan, except for a few voices in the wilderness. They know what they need to do, but they haven't gotten to that point yet. But I'm going to say that with people getting in the streets, they're going to see that the decision is made. They've got to get rid of this guy. They really do. And it's interesting because it's on the line with the justice reversed. So they know what they have to do, but they can't quite bring themselves to doing this. So let's see what else is coming up. The Ace of Cups from this deck. That's going to say that this is a meltdown card too. And what this is telling me that he will no longer be able to control himself. That there could be some big public thing where people are going to say, now we've got to drop the net and get him out of here. So there's the out of control emotions, because I think he's been able to pretty much keep that behind closed doors. And then we have the Magician, which is, I think, his delusion that he can keep on doing this forever, that it'll go on forever. But I'm going to put a card on top of this to see what the deal is. Okay. This is going to be, to clarify this, that what this is saying is that there's going to be so much coming at him that he won't be able to cope, that this could really, I think this is how he sees himself, and that so much will be coming at him that he's not going to be able to cope with this. I feel like pulling another one. Yep. And the fire will have gone out. So that's what's going on here. And I think too, as a conclusion, the Page of Cups, and that is totally like the real man baby that he is, will come out as this deterioration goes on. Could be next week. It could be a year from now. I don't think it's going to be that long. Nobody gets better by doing this stuff, and that this could really go with his deterioration, because I will say, if it isn't substance abuse, it's some majorly severe emotional problems that are just not going to get any better. But all of this does point to the fact. So let's see what we have here. Okay. All of his illusions, all of these things, this is what he uses to protect himself. And this is all this out of body stuff too, which is what the drug does. So I'm going to say it's really not going to be very pretty. And then we have Six of Wands in reverse. Loser, absolute. He has the illusion that he's a big winner, but he's really going to be the big loser in the end. And I don't think any of us want to be really around there. And then we have, back to the Nine of Swords, the worrying and the sleepless nights. This, which is telling me that however he comes through this, there's not, there's never going to be any peace for him. And that really does add to the stress of this. I see a card wanting to. And right now, and this is the being out in the cold and the poverty card, but what I'm going to say is that while he has the riches, inside of himself, he's an impoverished soul. So you can kind of feel sorry for the guy on one hand, but on the other hand, you just can't have somebody like that running the show and having all of our information and the strings on the purse and all of that sort of thing. So this is really screaming. He needs to be drug tested. He needs to be taken out of this whole thing that he didn't get elected to, because we're now the family that has to deal with all of this. So at any rate, that's what the cards are saying, and it's time for me to sign off. So everybody take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.